Emperor Orion opened fire on Earth cities from orbit, not knowing those first shots would mark the beginning of the Bajoran Empire's end. The year was 2045. Humans, after finally achieving faster-than-light travel, had started colonizing star systems near Earth. This expansion caught the attention of the Galactic Bajoran Empire, which had oppressively dominated the galaxy for eons. On his massive warship hovering over the blue planet, the arrogant Emperor Orion looked down and sneered. He dismissed humanity as a primitive species, one he could easily subjugate. He contacted the UN Secretary-General Joseph Cook and demanded Earth pay an outrageous annual tribute or face total destruction. Cook's response was blunt. He warned Orion that humans would never submit or pay tribute to alien overlords. Humanity would fight to the death to remain free. Lividly furious, Orion cut the transmission. He immediately ordered a full-scale attack to crush the humans' defiance and make a brutal example of Earth. All over the planet, people screamed and panicked as enormous Bajoran warships moved into position over major cities. Alien vessels blackened the skies. Humanity had never faced such a terrifying threat. Cook knew Earth was badly outgunned by the Empire's advanced technology, but he refused to let fear overwhelm him. Humans couldn't afford to lose this fight. If the Bajorans took Earth, they would enslave the population, and humanity's fledgling colonies would be doomed. This was a battle for nothing less than mankind's future among the stars. With grim focus, Cook implemented Earth's defense protocols. He scrambled the UN Space Force to launch fighters and warships in a desperate bid to repel the Bajoran fleet. Soon, the night skies blazed with streaking ships, missile trails, and explosions as intense space combat erupted in orbit. On the ground, Bajoran soldiers landed and marched through cities, attacking humans with deadly energy weapons. Earth armies met them in the streets, bravely fighting back in brutal urban warfare. Artillery and orbital bombardment pounded humanity's towns into rubble. From his UN bunker in New York, Cook directed the planet-wide resistance. His forces were taking heavy casualties, but they were holding the line. Incredibly, human ships and fighters managed to destroy many Bajoran capital ships, shocking the Emperor. Orion couldn't believe the primitive Earthlings were so tenacious and possessed such advanced tech. Perhaps he had badly underestimated them. After the first assault was repelled, Cook addressed the human race. He praised their courage but warned the real fight was just beginning. The Bajoran Emperor would soon return with a far larger armada to utterly crush Earth. On the ravaged surface, shell-shocked leaders took stock of their burned cities, wrecked vehicles, and fallen fighters. The price had already been high, but they had survived. For now. Cook gazed up at the stars, knowing this was humanity's most desperate hour. The Bajoran Empire would not stop until Earth was a burned cinder and mankind just another slave species. He steeled his resolve, knowing the odds against them were overwhelming. The battle for Earth and humanity's very future had only just begun. In the days following the Bajoran retreat, Joseph Cook worked around the clock to prepare Earth for the coming onslaught. He coordinated with military leaders and heads of state from every country, mobilizing a united global war effort on an unprecedented scale. Factories that once built cars and appliances now churned out advanced fighters, hover tanks, and plasma rifles. Shipyards worked furiously to construct a fleet of heavily armed warships. Military recruitment surged as men and women from all walks of life volunteered to defend their planet. Cook poured resources into classified defense projects, accelerating their development. Top scientists and engineers labored tirelessly on a planetary shield generator to protect Earth from orbital bombardment. They also worked to weaponize an experimental dark energy technology into a doomsday device capable of obliterating entire enemy fleets. As Cook rallied Earth, Emperor Orion raged at his flagship's viewport, still seething from his humiliating defeat. He vowed to eradicate the human filth and make their planet a barren graveyard. Orion summoned his war council and ordered the assembling of a war fleet so vast it would blot out the stars. Thousands of Bajoran warships, troop landers, and dreadnoughts converged in the depths of space, arming for the coming invasion. Orion's goal was no longer mere conquest, but the complete extermination of mankind as an example to the galaxy of the price for defying him. Earth's intel networks soon picked up signs of the looming attack. Cook digested the reports with grim perseverance, knowing their survival hinged on untested weapons and defenses. With no choice, he gave the order to rush the planetary shield and dark energy weapon to combat-ready status, praying they would function as hoped. Too soon, the dreaded day arrived. Alarms blared across Earth as the Bajoran armada emerged from hyperspace, a swarm of metal filling the sky. Near Mars, the first wave of enemy ships tore into the human defenses, effortlessly crushing outposts and shipyards. In the chaos, the main invasion force punched through and descended on Earth itself, Bajoran dreadnoughts looming over the terrified planet. As one, they powered up their city-destroying cannons, the air crackling with genocidal energies. At that moment, Earth's new planetary shield flared to life. An enormous, translucent bubble enveloped the globe. Just as the dreadnoughts fired, their beams struck the shield and dispersed harmlessly, like a water balloon hitting a concrete wall. On his warship, Orion gaped in disbelief as his terrible weapons fizzled against the planet-wide barrier. Triumph turned to ashes in his mouth. Emboldened, Earth's fleet rallied and launched a fierce counteroffensive from behind the shield. Waves of human fighters and warships tore into the surprised Bajoran lines, but Cook had one more card to play. The experimental dark energy weapon activated, a pulsing obsidian spire on the planet's surface. It thrummed with eldritch power and spat out a writhing beam of onyx energy that swept across the invading fleet. Where the beam touched, Bajoran ships simply vanished, winking out of existence as the dark energy obliterated them at the quantum level. Faced with this stunning upset, a shocked Orion ordered a temporary withdrawal. As his battered fleet limped away from Earth, Cook broadcast a defiant speech to all mankind. Today, we showed the galaxy the unbowed spirit and ingenuity of the human species, that we will fight to the last to defend our home. This is only the beginning. We will take the war to the Bajoran Empire and secure our freedom among the stars, even if we have to tear the empire down to do it. We will prevail. But even as Cook's words were met with raucous cheering on Earth, a new report landed on his desk. The Bajoran invaders had seized several more human colonies, and Imperial spies had stolen the secrets of Earth's shield technology. Even now, Orion's forges were building a terrifying planet-killer cannon that could batter down the shield and scour Earth's surface to molten slag. Cook reviewed the intel and assessed the Empire's obvious next moves. He began crafting countermeasures and plotting strikes to liberate the subjugated colonies. It was time to take this war to the enemy, for the survival and freedom of mankind in a hostile galaxy. Cook sat in his command center, surrounded by holographic displays showing Earth's defenses. The glow of screens cast harsh shadows across his face as he reviewed the intel from the Vega operation. A small smile tugged at his lips. They'd pulled it off. His moment of satisfaction was cut short by a piercing alarm. Red lights flashed as the invasion warning system activated. Cook leapt to his feet, barking orders. "Status report, what are we dealing with?" Admiral Hernandez's voice crackled over the comms. "Sir, long-range sensors are picking up a massive fleet dropping out of hyperspace. It's the Imperial Armada, and it's heading straight for Earth." Cook's eyes hardened. "Looks like Orion didn't appreciate our little surprise. How long until they reach our outer defenses?" "At their current speed, less than an hour," Hernandez replied grimly. "Activate the planetary shield and ready all defense stations," Cook ordered. "And get me Colonel Richards on the line. I want our hero back here ASAP." As Earth's military machine sprang into action, Cook studied the tactical display. The sheer number of enemy ships was staggering. This was it, the final showdown they'd been preparing for. In orbit, Earth's fleet moved to intercept. Fighters launched from carriers, forming up into strike squadrons. Capital ships powered up their weapons, preparing for the onslaught. The first wave of Imperial ships burst through the clouds, their hulls gleaming in the sunlight. Swarms of Bajoran fighters screamed towards Earth's defenders. "All units, engage!" Hernandez's voice boomed across the comms. Space erupted in chaos as the two fleets collided. Lasers and missiles crisscrossed the void. Explosions bloomed silently as ships on both sides were torn apart. On the bridge of his flagship, Emperor Orion watched the battle unfold with cold fury. The loss of the Vega shipyards had pushed him over the edge. He would crush these human vermin once and for all. "Bring us into range of their pathetic shield," he snarled. "It's time to show them the true power of the Empire." The massive dreadnought surged forward, its planet-killer cannon glowing with destructive energy. Orion allowed himself a cruel smile. Soon, Earth would be nothing but a cloud of debris. Back in the command center, Cook watched the titanic vessel approach on his screens. This was the moment everything hinged on. He took a deep breath and gave the order. "Activate the dark energy defenses. Let's give the Emperor a taste of his own medicine." Cook's fingers flew across the holographic controls as he initiated the Ragnarok protocol. "Unleash the swarm," he ordered, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. Hundreds of obsolete spacecraft and stations, rigged with explosives, burst to life. They rocketed towards the incoming Bajoran armada like a cloud of deadly hornets. The Imperial ship's shields flared brilliant blue as they absorbed the impacts. Explosion after explosion battered the massive dreadnoughts, straining their defenses to the breaking point. "Now!" barked Admiral Hernandez. "Launch the railgun torpedoes!" Earth's newest weapons screamed from their launch tubes. Accelerated to near light speed, the torpedoes crossed the distance in the blink of an eye. They slammed into the weakened Bajoran shields, punching through to strike the hulls beneath. Massive explosions rocked the Imperial flagships. Atmosphere vented from breached compartments. One dreadnought's reactor core went critical, consuming the ship in a massive fireball that claimed several nearby vessels. Colonel James Richards seized the moment. "Raven Squadron, form up on me," he commanded, leading his fighter wing in a daring, strafing run. They weaved between capital ships, pummeling exposed weapon emplacements and engines. On his flagship's bridge, Emperor Orion snarled in fury. "Obliterate their cities. Crush these vermin." Bajoran ships maneuvered into bombardment positions, but before they could fire, Earth's secret weapon activated. A writhing beam of dark energy lashed out, engulfing Orion's vessel. In an instant, the massive ship simply ceased to exist, unraveled at the quantum level. Panic spread through the Imperial fleet as Orion's death reverberated across their tactical net. Ships broke formation, captains unsure what to do without their leader. Admiral Hernandez pounced on the opportunity. "All units, press the attack. Show no mercy." Earth's defenders surged forward. Fighters swarmed disorganized Bajoran ships. Human beam weapons sliced through alien hulls. One by one, the once mighty Imperial armada was whittled down. Finally, the last Bajoran dreadnought fled into hyperspace, leaving behind the scattered remnants of their invasion force. In the war room, Cook allowed himself a moment of disbelief before addressing his staff. "We've won," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "But this is just the beginning. We'll take this fight to the stars and free every world under the Empire's boot." He turned to Colonel Richards. "James, I'm promoting you to lead our new interstellar expeditionary force. Show the galaxy what humanity can do." Richards nodded, a fierce light in his eyes. "Yes, sir. We'll make the Empire regret the day they ever heard of Earth." The void of space erupted into a maelstrom of fire and chaos as the Imperial Armada unleashed its full fury upon Zendra Prime. Massive dreadnoughts, their hulls dripping with planet-killer cannons, opened up with a barrage that turned night into day. The Allied defense spheres flared bright as they absorbed the punishing impacts, their energy fields straining under the onslaught. On the bridge of the flagship Defiance, Colonel Richards gripped the command rail, his eyes fixed on the tactical displays. "Status report," he barked. "Shields holding at 82%, sir," an officer called out. "Enemy fleet closing fast. They're trying to punch through our outer perimeter." Richards nodded grimly. All ships maintain formation. Don't let them break our lines. Outside, swarms of fighters clashed in a deadly dance. Human pilots in their nimble craft weaved between lumbering Imperial bombers, energy weapons flashing. Explosions bloomed silently in the vacuum as ships on both sides were torn apart. On the surface of Zendra Prime, the newly liberated populace huddled in reinforced bunkers. The ground shook as orbital strikes hammered the planetary shields. In the streets, Allied troops and armored vehicles took up defensive positions, ready to repel any landing attempts. Back on the Defiance, Admiral Hernandez's face appeared on a holoscreen. "Colonel, we're detecting a surge in energy readings from the enemy flagship. They're powering up something big." Richards leaned forward, studying the incoming data. His eyes widened as he realized what they were facing. "It's a gravity well projector," he said. "They're trying to trap us here." As if on cue, space itself seemed to warp and twist. The Allied fleet suddenly found itself being pulled inexorably towards the massive Imperial vessels. "All ships, full reverse thrust," Richards ordered. "We need to break free before they can bring their heavy guns to bear." Engines flared across the Allied armada as they fought against the artificial gravity well. Some of the smaller craft, unable to resist the pull, were drawn in and crushed like insects against the hulls of the Imperial dreadnoughts. On Earth, Secretary General Cook watched the unfolding battle with clenched fists. The fate of not just humanity, but countless oppressed species across the galaxy, hung in the balance. He spoke quietly to himself, a prayer and a promise. "Hold the line, Richards. We're counting on you." Back in orbit around Zendra Prime, Richards knew they couldn't remain on the defensive. He opened a channel to all Allied ships. "This is Colonel Richards. The enemy thinks they have us trapped, but they've made a critical mistake. They've brought their entire fleet within range of our secret weapon." He turned to his weapons officer. "Activate the quantum disruptor array. Target their flagship." A series of dish-like emitters on the Allied capital ships powered up, crackling with strange energies. They fired as one, unleashing a wave of quantum distortion that washed over the Imperial fleet. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, with terrifying suddenness, the massive Imperial flagship began to come apart at the seams. Its hull plates separated and drifted away as if repelled by some invisible force. The gravity well projector faltered and died. Richards allowed himself a grim smile. "All ships press the attack. Show these tyrants the price of threatening our freedom." The Allied fleet surged forward, seizing the initiative. The battle raged on, with the hope of the universe hanging in the balance. But for the first time since the conflict began, hope burned bright in the hearts of the defenders.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel. And for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.